the world is a more dangerous place than ever before. At least that's what most governments seem to believe, going by the worldwide increase in military spending. From 2021 to 2025, arms spending around the globe surged by 9.2%. And when arms sales are up, so are profits. That means some countries are not only expanding their militaries, but cashing in. Asia is already home to 2 full-fledged arms export powerhouses, but many more countries have high hopes of joining the ranks of the world's top defense exporters. Today, we're counting down the region's top 10 defense exporters and separating the wanna-bes from the real contenders. We'll speed through the bottom 3 so we can get to the major players. Number 10 is New Zealand, which ranked 47th on SIPRI's global list of top arms exporters for 2021 to 2025. Number 9 is a bit of a surprise, Kyrgyzstan, which came in at 44th in SIPRI's global list. In 2024 and 2025, the small Central Asian state did arms deals with just one country, Sudan. What arms did little Kyrgyzstan export to Sudan? A pair of Soviet-made Ilyushin heavy transport aircraft. One of them was shot down in Darfur in October 2024. Singapore comes in at 8th place. Despite a more well-established arms industry, Singapore accounted for just 0.1% of global arms imports over the last 5 years. Now here's our first major player. At number 7, Pakistan. Pakistan is a small but growing force in international arms exports. It's currently ranked 35th in the world, but last year its defense industry surged ahead. Deals currently under discussion could amount to $10 billion or more in arms exports. What's the cause of this impressive performance? Pakistan's military exceeded expectations during a 4-day clash with India in May 2025. The rest of the world took note. Pakistan is discussing sales of JF-17 Thunder fighter jets to Libya, Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, and Sudan. The most advanced variant, the JF-17 Block 3, is a 4.5 generation fighter, complete with a cutting-edge active electronically scanned array radar, helmet-mounted displays, and advanced weaponry like long-range air-to-air missiles. It's likely that not all of these talks will lead to actual contracts, but even just a few would be a major win. The Libya and Saudi Arabia deals under discussion, for example, are reportedly worth $4 billion each. That's on top of already sealed contracts with Nigeria, Myanmar, and Azerbaijan, involving fighter jets, combat drones, and armored vehicles, as well as grenade launchers and portable rocket systems. Pakistan's defense industry is clearly trending upward, but there's one factor that keeps it on the lower half of this list. Many of the systems Islamabad is exporting aren't made by Pakistan alone. The crown jewel of Pakistan's export portfolio, the JF-17, is a joint production with China. While Pakistan assembles and exports the fighter jets, Beijing supplies the most critical components, including radars, avionics, and advanced air-to-air missiles. In fact, nearly all of the systems that performed so well during the May 2025 clashes were co-produced with China, with the Chinese partners providing the bulk of the technology. By comparison, Pakistan's wholly indigenous defense industry looks a lot shakier. Here's Ankit Panda, a defense and security expert with the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace.
Pakistan is not who you typically think of as a major defense exporter by any means. The May 2025 conflict with India set off some interest, primarily in the Middle East and North Africa, where Pakistan has existing relationships, but its total export sales are still pretty small. There's lots of concerns about Pakistan's ability to indigenously deliver on this. Like the JF-17 is a co-developed capability with China, so it's not really what you would think of as a traditional Pakistani offering.
Number 6 is Japan, and this one may be controversial. Japan doesn't look that impressive in SIPRI's rankings. It's ranked 45th in the world. That's actually below Pakistan, Singapore, and Kyrgyzstan. But that's because Japan is a new entrant to the arms sale game. Japan just okayed the export of lethal arms in April 2026. Prior to that, Tokyo was limited to selling defensive equipment only and couldn't provide anything to countries actively engaged in a conflict. Now the chains are off Japan's defense industry. Like Pakistan, Japan's defense industry is bolstered by its partnership with a powerful ally, in Japan's case, the United States. But unlike Pakistan, Japan actually makes its own defense tech at home, despite collaborating with the US in research and development. There are 5 Japanese companies in SIPRI's top 100 arms producers, and over Over the past year, they increased their combined arms revenues by 40% to $13.3 billion. The largest Japanese defense firm, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, is ranked 32nd in the world. Pakistan, by comparison, had 0 firms on the list of the world's top 100. In April 2026, Japan signed its first major defense contract to supply Australia's Navy with next-generation frigates. That deal alone is worth an estimated $7 billion. Tokyo is also in active discussions with Manila about selling destroyers to the Philippine Navy. And Japan is co-developing a 6th-generation fighter jet with Italy and the UK that will be heavily marketed abroad. Finally, Japan is already actively sending its arms overseas. It's just labeling this as aid, not sales. If we count Japan's official security assistance, that is, the free provision of defense equipment, Japan has sent another $115 million worth of arms to the Philippines, Thailand, Fiji, Malaysia, Papua New Guinea, and Sri Lanka. Not bad for a country that banned most arms exports until just a few months ago.
Japan is a really interesting one on the list because there's a lot of change to talk about. The new Takaichi government has notably taken Japan's now 10-year plus drift towards greater defense exports in a new direction with the ability to export lethal systems to a number of partner countries. Japan's got a lot to offer here, tremendous industrial capacity. It's in the process of building up its own defense capabilities, which will spill over to its ability to provide greater exports. So Japan, I think, will definitely be a country to watch today and in the coming years in the Indo-Pacific.
At number 5, we have North Korea. Traditionally, North Korea has mostly sold small arms and Soviet-era knockoffs to non-state actors and pariah states, buyers with no other options. But Pyongyang has recently pivoted toward large-scale, high-intensity conventional exports, and all of it is going to just one customer. North Korea has sent an estimated $10 billion worth of arms to Russia since 2023 to supply Moscow's continuing invasion of Ukraine. This includes an estimated 15 million rounds of 152mm artillery shells and hundreds of short-range ballistic missiles, notably the KN-23 and KN-24. These aren't traditional arms sales. Instead of hard cash, North Korea is getting food, oil, and military gear that it can't make itself, potentially air defense systems and electronic warfare systems. Beyond Russia, North Korea's biggest customers have included Iran, Syria, and various non-state actors in sub-Saharan Africa and the Middle East. North Korea is one of the few state actors willing to sell its weapons to whoever has the cash or the right goods to barter, which makes it an attractive seller of last resort. And North Korea is able to sell weapons to unsavory actors because, unlike Japan or Pakistan, its defense industry is largely self-sufficient. North Korea has spent years sanctions-proofing its economy, including arms manufacturing. Today, it's able to mass-produce munitions and rugged, if simplistic, hardware at a scale that Western industrial bases struggle to match. North Korea lacks the sophisticated technology of competing systems from the US or China, but North Korean arms are prized for their reliability in attrition-based warfare, and it's looking to move up the value chain with some technological assistance from Russia. North Korea's defense industry is increasingly focused on integrating modern tech such as long-range drones and hypersonic glide vehicles. The question is whether it will find many customers beyond Russia. North Korea remains under international sanctions, meaning its arms sales are all technically illegal. Plus, many of its previous partners aren't in a position to buy at the moment. Iran is under siege by the United States, Hezbollah has been decimated by Israel, and the Assad regime in Syria has fallen. In a crowded market where even cash-strapped states have options, North Korea may find it hard to attract new customers.
North Korea obviously has made some really big recent moves. The big story is Russia's war in Ukraine. That has put North Korea on the map. The big concern, of course, is the Russian Federation adopting all of this North Korean kit and using it in its ongoing war against Ukraine is probably going to draw greater interest around the world. The North Koreans clearly have competitive offerings, obviously tremendous amounts of difficulties for any normal country to transact with North Korea. The logistical difficulties of actually getting and purchasing North Korean kit, I think, will still be a pretty difficult challenge.
Number 4 is India. Now we're finally cracking the top 30 global arms exporters. India is in 30th place overall, according to SIPRI, accounting for 0.2% of total sales. But it has big ambitions, and like its arch-rival Pakistan, India's defense industry is on the rise. Historically, India has been the world's largest buyer of arms. That is still mostly true. In fact, it's the world's #2 largest arms importer after Ukraine. Yet India is an up-and-coming arms seller as well, led by Hindustan Aeronautics, India's largest defense firm and the 44th largest in the world. India's defense exports grew an eye-watering 62% in fiscal year 2025-26, reaching a record $4.1 billion. Over 80 countries have purchased Indian weapons systems. Armenia has emerged as a top buyer, with purchases of the Akash surface-to-air missile system and Pinaka rocket launchers. Armenia's interest in Indian arms surged when its conflict with Azerbaijan intensified before the two finally made peace in March 2025. Not coincidentally, Azerbaijan is a top customer of Pakistan's, bringing the South Asian rivalry into the South Caucasus. The Philippines is another of India's main customers. In 2022, it became the first country to buy India's BrahMos supersonic cruise missile, in a deal valued at $375 million. Indonesia followed suit in early 2026, sealing a BrahMos purchase worth somewhere between $275 and $350 million. India is discussing a similar sale to Vietnam as well. India's goal is to become a top 5 global defense producer, with a target for exports to surpass 500 billion rupees by fiscal year 2028-29. That's around $5.3 billion. But India has a similar problem to Pakistan. Its most in-demand arms export, the BrahMos missile, is co-produced with a more established defense partner, Russia. The BrahMos blends Russian propulsion technology with Indian guidance systems and software. India is currently looking to homeshore more production to wean itself off reliance on Russia or anyone else.
India does have domestic political drivers that I think are making it a much more aspirational defense exporter. The Make in India initiative, for instance, is a big push to indigenize production. The BrahMos is a good example of an area where you don't have 100% self-sufficiency, but a lot of the other capabilities, such as the Akash surface-to-air missile system, the Pinaka multiple launch rocket system, those are largely indigenous, and India does have a rather active defense research and development organization that is building up a lot of capabilities that may be competitive with certain classes of customers that especially will be more price sensitive.
We're into the top 3 now, and number 3 on the list is probably the biggest surprise. Ready? It's Australia. You might not think of Australia as an arms powerhouse, but it ranks 22nd in the world for arms exports, earning $12 billion from arms sales in fiscal year 2024-25 alone. Like many of the countries on this list, the government is eager to grow even more. Australia is aggressively pursuing the goal of becoming a top 10 global defense exporter by the late 2020s. Along the way, Australia's defense export strategy has undergone a significant transformation. It started out by focusing on niche components rather than big-ticket platforms. In fact, most of its customers are strategic allies who are using Australian components as parts of larger weapons systems. For example, the biggest destination for Australian arms sales is the United States, the world's largest defense exporter. Australian components are used in the U.S. military's F-35 fighter jet and the Aegis combat system, both of which are popular arms exports in turn. But Australia is now breaking new ground by selling its own bespoke systems. European countries such as Germany, Poland, Spain, and Denmark have signed major contracts for Australian-made systems like the Boxer Heavy Weapon Carrier program. Closer to home, Indonesia and Vietnam have purchased Australian-made protected mobility vehicles and patrol boats. Australia's Bushmaster and Hawkeye vehicles are globally recognized for their blast resistance, as proven on the battlefields of Ukraine. That's caused a spike in orders from both Ukraine and interested third parties. Australia is also developing a loyal wingman drone called the MQ-28A Ghost Bat in collaboration with the United States. Australian anti-drone technology is increasingly popular too, with the US as one of the major customers of the Australian firm Drone Shield. Australia is a different sort of defense exporter. Its products are not household names, but it has demonstrated battle-tested expertise in specific areas, including some cutting-edge technologies like drones and drone countermeasures. But again, there's a catch. Many of Australia's major defense firms are co-ventures with the United States. That's not surprising, given Australia's role as a supplier of critical component parts for U.S. weapons systems. Still, Australia has managed to parlay this cooperation into a robust domestic defense industry, and it's hoping to build those gains with two massive new projects: nuclear-powered submarines under AUKUS and those new Japanese frigates we mentioned earlier. Both projects will start with imported vessels, before moving to production lines in Australia itself. Australia is hoping to parlay that experience into future naval exports of its own. But for now, it's solidly number 3 in Asia, well behind the top 2.
Australia is obviously spending a ton of money on its defense industry through AUKUS, Pillar 2 in particular, the advanced technologies piece. Australia is also co-developing a lot of systems with the United States. Canberra's commitments to its defense spending, I think, will continue to keep it fairly high on this list, especially if a lot of these co-developed capabilities with the United States factor into just the pure spending numbers, because American capabilities tend to be rather expensive.
We're finally here, at Asia's two unquestioned arms powerhouses. Their defense firms are major names, and they're both in the top 10 globally. But only one can be number 1, and number 2 is South Korea. South Korea is one of 2 Asian countries to crack the top 10 list of global arms exporters. It's in 9th place overall, accounting for 3% of global arms sales. To put that in perspective, South Korea sells more weapons systems than the 8 countries we already talked about combined. And South Korea's arms exports continue to surge. There's been a huge wave of interest following the Ukraine war, and that's remaking South Korea's defense industry. Historically, Southeast Asian countries like the Philippines, Indonesia, and Malaysia were the primary markets for South Korean arms. However, the Ukraine war sent Eastern European countries in particular scrambling to lock in arms contracts, both for themselves and to re-export arms to a beleaguered Ukraine. South Korea emerged as an attractive option. U.S. arms are expensive and often unavailable in the short term due to production backlogs. South Korean arms, by contrast, are cost-effective and ship on time. Because the country remains technically at war with North Korea, Seoul has maintained a massive defense industrial base, ready to churn out weapons for itself and its customers. South Korea has sold over $14 billion worth of defense equipment to Poland alone since 2022. And the impressive performance of South Korean equipment on the battlefield has more orders pouring in. Australia, India, the Philippines, and Saudi Arabia have all signed arms deals with South Korea in the last 3 years. South Korea's export success is built on heavy ground and air platforms. The K-29 Thunder self-propelled howitzer is its most successful export. It commands over 50% of the global market for its category. Following closely is the K-2 Black Panther main battle tank. Poland has made massive purchases of both armored vehicles. In terms of fighters, South Korea's Fa-50 light attack aircraft has become a favorite for nations seeking affordable, supersonic multi-role jets, while the newer Kf-21 Boramae fighter is beginning to attract significant pre-orders as it enters mass production. Buoyed by this high demand, in 2025, the top 4 South Korean defense firms increased their arms revenue by 31%, topping $14 billion. The biggest, Hanwha Group, saw its arms sale revenue grow by an eye-popping 42% in 2024, with more than half coming from arms exports. Seoul is eager to continue to cash in. The South Korean government has set a goal of becoming the world's 4th largest arms exporter by 2027, and it's on track to meet that target. Current forecasts expect South Korean arms exports to reach $25 billion in 2026.
So South Korea, I think, is the biggest success story in the Indo-Pacific over the last 10 years on defense exports. It is a key national priority for successive South Korean governments, and it's one that they've really delivered on for good reason. Korea has a reputation for fairly priced, on-time deliveries. So Korea is going to be at the top of this list, in second place for, I think, quite a long time to come. Demand for Korean capabilities, I think, will continue to rise quite substantially.
Finally, that leaves Asia's biggest arms exporter, and it's not a surprise: China. China is hands down the region's largest and most capable military, and it's also the biggest seller of arms abroad. China is in 5th place in the world, representing 5.5% of global arms sales. That includes everything from small arms to drones to major platforms like submarines and fighter jets. China has 4 defense companies in the global top 20: Aviation Industry Corporation of China, China Electronics Technology Group, Norinco, and China State Shipbuilding Corporation. No other Asia-Pacific country has any firms in the top 20. China was originally known as the cheap option. It's where you went to buy weapons if you couldn't afford top-notch quality. Those days are long gone. Today, China's tech is on par with that of the long-standing defense giants like the United States, Russia, and France, and the Chinese systems are still cheaper. It's not hard to see why foreign governments find that attractive. The JF-17 Thunder fighter, co-developed with Pakistan, remains a major export, recently joined by the more advanced J-10C. China has also become a primary supplier of conventional submarines, like the Type 039B, and frigates to nations in South and Southeast Asia. Other popular products include the SY-400 tactical ballistic missile system and the VT-4 main battle tank. China is also a major player in a cutting-edge sector, drones or unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs. Both the CH-4 and the Winglong series are global bestsellers, offering capabilities similar to American platforms at a fraction of the price. Pakistan is by far China's largest purchaser. It buys nearly half of all Chinese arms exports. But China has a truly global portfolio, selling defense systems to the Middle East, South and Southeast Asia, and Sub-Saharan Africa. Yet there is one warning sign: corruption. Recent scandals involving Chinese defense firms have taken a toll. From 2024 to 2025, the top 8 Chinese arms companies saw their revenue drop by 10%, headlined by a 31% fall for Norinco. Still, there's little reason to think China is going to tumble from its lofty position anytime soon. Sporting an impressive array of cutting-edge tech, from combat drones to hypersonic missiles, China is well positioned to continue its dominance as Asia's biggest arms exporter.
One of the biggest stories in Asian security is China's remarkable rise as a defense spender across all parts of its armed forces. And so that has had implications for China's competitiveness in global defense exports. And the big story is really a lot of developing world countries where Chinese cost offerings are a lot more competitive. And there's also a political element to doing these types of deals with China, which is often a major strategic partner or provider of infrastructure funding, development financing elsewhere. The capability side of things is also growing, and so I wouldn't expect anything to really displace China from the top of the defense exporters list in Asia. If anything, we should expect to see categories of Chinese exports continue to grow as well.
Thanks for watching our countdown. While China is the unquestioned king of defense tech in Asia, that doesn't resolve a deeper question. Can China's military actually fight? Check out our video for more.